Are the Philadelphia Eagles frauds? Have they finally been exposed? Did we finally find Philadelphia's weakness here? And welcome to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by BET99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. I'm Ryan Doyle. That is Steve Budin. Good to see you, sir.
You know, after a few weeks of wearing the same clothes, I went with the vest today. I figured there's no way you're coming up with that one. So.
No, I haven't worn one of those since I dealt blackjack at the Mirage. No, you're looking sharp as always, my friend, of course. Big Week 10, lots going on. The man cave was electric. People were yelling at the TVs. It was just chaos in my basement over the weekend. How did you see Week 10? How did you break it all down? What stood out to you?
All right, well, let's do it like we always do, fast and furious. It's the lessons learned from last week. Washington Commanders officially have an identity now, and it's the run game. So credit the offensive coordinator, Scott Turner. This is going to be the blueprint that they'll use going forward. The question is, who's going to play quarterback now? Wentz is available, but Taylor Heineke now 3-1, so your guess is as good as mine. Philly, Eagles played very sloppy and saw the undefeated streak come to an end. The Eagles' rush defense continues to be a problem. San Fran, 49ers fresh off their bye, 8 players returning from injury, and they still barely beat the Chargers. The 49ers would be wise to get Kittle more involved in the passing game. LA Chargers can only outrun their injury issues for so long. Their offense struggled to move the ball. Starting tackles and top 2 receivers are still out. It's a red alert. They got to get their key players off of IR or they are done. Green Bay, Packers now have a pulse. Losing streak ends at 5 games. 3 touchdown catches by rookie receiver Christian Watson. Rudy Ford, where have you been hiding? He picked off Dak Prescott twice in the first half. At 4-6, the Packers are not dead yet. Dallas, Cowboy defense has been solid all year. They look shaky again like they did in the loss to Philly. There's a big difference between 7-2 and 6-3. Their next game is versus Minnesota. It's a must-win for the boys. Arizona, Cardinals win one with Colt McCoy at the quarterback. Actually ran the offense extremely well. If the Cardinals can stop being their own worst enemy, this could be a start of something good in the desert. LA, if Cooper Kupp's ankle injury is serious, the Rams are in trouble. At 3-6, is their season over? Yes. Indy, Colts interim head coach Jeff Saturday earned some credibility. He won his first game. Is Matt Ryan the quarterback for the foreseeable future? He should be. Las Vegas, Raiders are dysfunctional. They are a mess. The Raiders are now 0-6 in one-score games this season. Las Vegas needs to fire somebody quick. Mini, okay, I was wrong about Minnesota. Clearly, they've earned the right to be considered one of the NFL's best teams after beating the Bills. 3 home games in a row coming up for Minnesota. They're 4-0 at home, so can you say stretch run? Buffalo, Bills quarterback Josh Allen, little banged up, looked less than spectacular. 2 interceptions in the red zone at crucial moments. Play calling needs to incorporate some more running plays. They need some balance. Tennessee, Titans the Titans receivers finally found a way to make an impact on the offense this week. The big question is, can the Titans continue to compete despite so many injuries? Denver, Broncos have scored just 12 touchdowns in 9 games, and they left Nashville way more battered than when they arrived. The Broncos, they need to bulk up on that offensive line, and they need to do it fast. New York Giants, wasn't pretty, but once again, the Giants got it done. Looks like the Giants can win 10 to 12 games this season, possibly. That is huge for them, and no one saw that coming. Houston, Texas running back Dameon Pierce, my pick, Rookie of the Year, the lone bright spot for Houston now. They need to get their receivers involved in the game. Miami, hard to beat the Dolphins when they run the ball so good, but it was their defense that was super impressive versus Cleveland. Miami is playing great on both sides of the ball. Cleveland at 3-6, this Browns team is done. Detroit, Lions snapped a 13-game road losing streak. Lions passing game looked great. Now they need to get the running game going. Chicago, Bears are riding that run game, 5th straight game, 200 yards rushing. Fields again was amazing, but they still can't win. Kansas City, the Chiefs are headed for the AFC West Championship. It wasn't pretty, but that's a fact. Jacksonville, Jags are looking good, but far from great. They've got a lot of work to do. This has been a good start for Doug Peterson. Pittsburgh, what was the difference for the Steelers last week? Simply, it was the return of T.J. Watt. Looks like the Steelers' run game turned the corner. 217 yards on the ground. Not bad at all. New Orleans, is there any hope left for the Saints after another undisciplined, injury-plagued loss? The short answer, no. Tampa Bay back on track. I told you so. Never count Brady out. What are they doing better? They're running the ball, and they're using that play-action pass. It's vintage Brady. Seattle, worst performance of the season. They were bad on both sides of the ball. Too soon to call them a fake. I'm going to give them one more week. Carolina, the Panthers, actually a better running team without Christian McCaffrey. Sound crazy? I mean, 47 rushes for a season high, 232 yards. How crazy is that? Atlanta, the Falcons were a complete mess. They couldn't stop the run. No offense at all. Even their special teams sucked. Nothing is working in Atlanta. That'll do it.
That'll do it. Okay, I was stunned there at the end. Nothing is working in Atlanta. I'm trying to think of something that is, and I've got nothing for you. I've got nothing to fill in the blanks. You mentioned Josh Allen and the 2 interceptions. Did you know that Josh Allen is leading the league in interceptions? He has 10. The Bills' star quarterback is starting to sink his team's chances by taking too many chances and trying to fit balls into places that they don't belong. Now, Steve, many people are pointing to the fact that they've lost their offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll. Allen also has a passer rating in the second half of 86, leaving many to wonder whether this is an overhyped and overrated team. When you look at the Bills' overall Super Bowl chances and their future chances when it comes to betting, they're still at plus 380. It's respectable to win the Super Bowl. Is this a team that's in a free fall here? Can they correct it? Would you put a bet down if it was $100 to win 380?
I wouldn't feel bad about it. I mean, look, home run hitters strike out more. The Bills are a passing team. They pass more than any other team in the league, so they're going to have more interceptions. I don't think that's because they're bad. I think that's because they have a high volume of balls in the air. The reason their offense is the way it is because it's one-dimensional. They're having a problem establishing the run. The quarterback, Josh Allen, again, he was their leading rusher. That's not a good thing. The play calling needs to rely less on Allen and his arm and more on the running game to balance that out. Now they have an offensive line that's back to full health. They need to use them. As far as better options than Buffalo for your picks for the Super Bowl, I mean, you want to have a team coming into the postseason that's got momentum, right? You want them playing their best football headed into the stretch and the playoffs. Vikings, Chiefs come to mind. I don't know. My dark horse are the Bucks. The Bills are probably better than all of those teams, but they're not playing their best ball at this time, so they need to pick it up and get that momentum back on their side. If I was a Bills bettor, the only thing that would concern me again is making sure they're playing their best ball heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's really interesting you mentioned that balance because I've been shouting it at the television screen for quite a while that they, and they showed glimpses of it. The fact that Devin Singletary got his first touchdown of the year against the Vikings this past weekend is wild to me, right? We're talking about Week 10. How is this guy getting his first touchdown if he's one of their main running backs? They abandoned the run in the second half of that game, and I think ultimately it's what cost them. Teams that can't run the clock cost bettors money. They cost me money on the weekend. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how come you can't stretch out drives? Why is it always, as you put it, these home run balls that you keep throwing when you can just pace this out, string the Vikings along, and go for the easy win? So what did I do? I took a deep dive back into the game against Green Bay and against the Jets, and sure enough, they're not running the ball in the second half. No wonder Josh Allen's passer rating is so low. All he's doing is throwing, and a lot of the times he's missing.
No, absolutely. And if you live by the pass, you're going to die by the pass. Even if you look at KC and Mahomes, when they were at their best, there was a balanced attack on offense. He was either passing the ball, he was running it himself, or they were running the ball. And like we saw with the Bucks, if you don't run the ball, you miss that whole play-action pass and that ability to catch the defense off guard and throw that ball 15 to 20 yards in the middle of the field.
And one of the other teams that stuck out to me when you talk about teams that maybe aren't getting enough respect when it comes to Super Bowl futures, I hate to say this as a Bills fan. I got the helmet right over here, but the Miami Dolphins look red hot. Tua is probably the hottest passer in the league. The Dolphins still sit at plus 1,700 to win the Super Bowl, despite being in first place in the AFC East and having it just, since he's been back, he's been electric. What am I missing here when it comes to the betting public not liking the Dolphins?
It's a brand name issue. I mean, no one really gives the Dolphins a chance to win the Super Bowl. Even when they had their best team in the last couple of decades with Dan Marino, they got there but didn't win it. I don't think anyone looks at this team and feels like it's their best team. But I've been on the Dolphins all season long. They have a solid offense. They have a great defense. I think this price is a value, and I think it's worth taking a shot.
All right, let's look at the Monday Nighter just very quickly. You mentioned the Washington Commanders finally having an identity in Mr. Heineke. Nobody saw that coming. I don't think this kid ever wanted to be a quarterback. When Old Dominion came calling as the first college calling him, he said, yeah, sure, I'll play quarterback. He didn't even entertain any other offers because I don't think he was thinking he was going to get any. But are the Philadelphia Eagles frauds? Have they finally been exposed? Did we finally find Philadelphia's weakness here?
Well, yeah, and they have a problem defending the rush, right? They have a defensive problem. They can't stop the run, but it's most likely due to the absence of rookie defensive tackle Jordan Davis. He's got that high ankle sprain. Look, the Commanders rushed 29 times for 100 yards in the first half alone. More importantly, that was 24 minutes of possession time. Philly only had the ball 6 minutes in the first half. That's the lowest by any team in the first half of any game in the last 5 years. Eagles may be a product of an easy schedule, but it's too early for me to discount their amazing record. Everyone's allowed to have a bad week. I would not call them dominant. They're far from lucky, but again, they're not dominant, and I think that's the big takeaway for me.
All right, we've got more big takeaways, including a preview of Thursday Night Football, who we like in the betting world, between the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans, and then a real interesting college football look for you when it comes to Baylor and TCU. We will do all of that when Pocket Protection continues.
As a world champion, when I walked out of the tunnel, I knew I prepared to win. I still do today. Every game starts at bet99.net.
Welcome to Bet99.net, Canada's home for all your favorite free-to-play casino games, slots, live dealer tables, and progressive jackpots, including Mega Moolah. At Bet99.net, you could be a winner today.
Welcome back to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. Ryan Doyle, Steve Budin with you. Thursday night, we've got the Green Bay Packers, dare I say the red-hot Green Bay Packers. They've won one game, but for them this season, Steve, that's a good thing. -3 versus the Tennessee Titans. The total here is 42.
Yeah, I mean, one game, and are you ready to jump back on the Pack? Not me. I think they got the wrong favorite here. Tennessee's on a heater. They've covered 7 straight. They've won 6 of 7, and that was without Tannehill for 2 of those games. Now, Tannehill is back. He had a 255-yard game passing and a pair of touchdowns against the Broncos. He rallied the Titans from a 10-0 deficit to a 17-10 win. That Titan defense giving up just 55 yards per game rushing, just 2.8 yards per carry over the past 6 games. Packers, they've lost 3 straight this season when they're laying points at Lambeau. I'm not ready to take the Lambeau leap. See what I did there?
Very good.
I'm on Tennessee plus the points.
I am also on Tennessee plus the points. One thing that stands out to me, and I watched the game on the weekend against Denver, is Tennessee's coaching. Tennessee was playing with massive holes in their defense. I think they were missing 4 starters on the defensive line. They had a number of banged-up players in the secondary. Their injury list looked like a walking wounded report, and they were still able to keep Denver out of the red zone. The Denver Broncos never crossed that line. They never got into the red zone. They had one bomb of a pass that was a touchdown. Everything else was Denver 3 and out, Denver 3 and out. And on the offensive side of the ball, despite being banged up there as well somewhat, they were able to play against what is, I think, one of the best defenses in the league and still render them useless. Green Bay on this side is banged up in their own right. Romeo Doubs still looking pretty much like he's going to be out. Randall Cobb on injured reserve. Several players, including Rashawn Gary, Shamar John-Charles, Devondre Campbell, Tipa Gallai, all of them out. These missing players, I think, Steve, are going to hurt when it comes to defending Derrick Henry. They are going to have a very large problem defending the run, the Green Bay Packers are, without with those banged up players, they're 26 against the rush, allowing 140 yards a game. I think you're going to see a big dose of Derrick Henry. I also think that's going to slow this game down. So I like both Tennessee and the under in this one. And I agree with you. They've got the wrong favorite here. I was doing my odds before I took a look. I had Tennessee as 3-point favorites.
No, I agree. And listen, one thing that was missing from that Denver game was Henry. You know what I mean? And you need him to bounce back. This is a great defense to bounce back against. But something that you've never seen this season is like Henry plays bad and Tennessee still wins. I think that's as big of a point as anything else. And I think they gained some confidence from that. And they are able to get Henry back in the mix, achieve that balance, and win this game.
Let's take a look at college football. One of the big clashes, because this team I think is surprising a lot of people, and that is TCU. We're looking at 2.5 against Baylor. The total here is 57.5. This is going to be an interesting football game down in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and I think this is a cheap price here on TCU. They're just 3 wins away from an unlikely berth in the playoffs. I think Sonny Dykes, strong candidate for Coach of the Year. Frogs have continued to figure out ways to win in a bunch of super close games. They almost remind me of the Baylor Bears last year. They're outscoring their last 5 opponents 62-21 in crunch time. That's in the fourth quarter. They're a big play team with quarterback Max Duggan. He probably deserves some Heisman consideration himself. 25 touchdown passes, only 2 picks. That's close to flawless. But most of all, he maintains his poise in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. The Bears this year have the tendency to self-destruct. They're not playing great lately. I'm on TCU in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. And when that happens, that means go to the window, folks, and get those tickets on early, because I do like TCU. I think they continually get disrespected, and I'm guilty of it. I had Texas last week. I bought into the narrative that Texas was all of a sudden going to flex their state-like muscle and be the bigger university and absolutely, dominate, and that just didn't happen. The Horned Frogs got it done. I agree with you as well with Max Duggan. He has been absolutely magic for TCU. He leads them back in games when necessary. This is the 8th best second-half scoring offense in the nation. He's got 25 passing touchdowns, just 2 interceptions, as you mentioned. And this, can I key in on this for a second? Because you dropped it, and we might as well talk about it. Max Duggan is plus 6,000 still to win the Heisman. Is that not insane to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he gets a lot of credit. I don't think he gets a lot of airtime. But I do think if you just went on talent and you just went on how people are doing for the year and success, he's got to be top 3.
And I mean, does it factor in at all that TCU might not be a team that's getting a lot of, I guess I want to say television action, but I feel like they're at least getting a lot of mention. So I'm not sure that can be it.
Yeah, I just think that they're being on playing for a huge program that's a national program is always going to put you in a better position to win the Heisman.
Yeah, fair enough. It shouldn't be that way. Let's get back to my analysis of this. Sonny Dykes, Max Duggan, TCU still unbeaten, could be headed to the college football playoff. I think clearly with a win here, that would set their course right to where it needs to be. They're number 4 in last week's CFP committee rankings, 17-10 win over Texas. Doesn't hurt the resume in any way, shape, or form. I really like TCU here, and I like them big. If you can find some of those shops that will give you alternate spreads, that will give you a little extra action, a little kick in the pants so you can get more money for your action here. TCU is 4-0 against the spread in the last 4. The road team's 5-1 against the spread. Do I need to say more? I like the Horned Frogs. Which way am I supposed to put my horns? Is it up, down? I think it's down.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, I like that. So we've got some agreement with Tennessee on the Thursday night, agreement with TCU on Saturday. Steve and I are a lethal combination. We're going to have to start keeping track of some of this because we are a lethal combination when we are on the same page. I want to say almost undefeated in that world.
Yeah, I think we're at least 90%, which is scary.
It's terrifying. Don't let these two men in the same room, or at least in a sports book.
Well, and gamblers are so crazy, like we'll find a way to jinx ourselves, you know what I mean? And that's the way we are. Is there really anything that really is a jinx, or is that all just in gamblers' heads? But I think like the athletes themselves, as a gambler, you want to be doing your best and feeling yourself heading into this part of the season, right? Because you can chop all year long, but if you stay around and hang around and are doing your best towards the postseason, that's your best chance to turn a profit for the year.
Yeah, and I will add to that, that's when you start to see the playoff games a little bit more clearly. You understand the matchups a little more clearly, and that can lead you right to being the smartest guy at your Super Bowl party.
Yeah, and the one thing we'll talk about as we get closer is just because you're in the postseason and just because you're in the playoffs, the games are more important to the players, but not to the gamblers. You know what I mean? And you can't pretend like those games should be bet more on than regular games. Don't be a moron. So
that's where the word came from, I think. Steve Budin, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
It's good to be here. Let's get some winners.
We will, of course, be back with some of those winners on Saturday's show, so don't forget to check that out as well. We'll have a full rundown of your NFL games, and we'll also talk about what we like, what we throw out, what we want to really key in on, and even some prop bets. We'll talk about some of my prop bets from last weekend as well and break those down a little bit. You've been watching Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling.